It's time for another video conversation with an innovator in the home furnishings marketplace. I'm Dean Horowitz, publisher of Furniture Today, and I'm leading you through deep dives with technology and innovation leaders that you might think you know, but haven't had the right opportunity to really get to know. Leggett Platt was an innovator before the term became mandatory for business. More than 125 years ago, they pioneered sleep technology. Now it's an S&P 500 diversified manufacturer. Leggett Platt conceives, designs, and produces a diverse array of products that can be found in most homes, offices, and vehicles. Now, I get to talk with Mark Kinsley, who is Leggett Platt's staff vice president of marketing for the bedding group. He also oversees and conceived of SleepGeek.com, an online community purpose-built for the mattress industry, and especially its RSAs. All right, let's disrupt. This is what I admire about you, Mark Kinsley, is that you come from outside the market, you come into Leggett Platt, you start a whole new business unit for them. You're applying fresh thinking, and I think everyone can learn from what you're doing. You've been a speaker at our conferences and other conferences. A lot of people turn to you for big ideas. How does it feel to be Mark Kinsley?
Well, it depends on the day. Right now it feels pretty great because I have an incredible team around me, and I have people that are willing to listen to new ideas and to listen to some that might not seem the most sane at times, but it's fun to be part of an industry that really is hungry for some innovative thinking because, it's an industry that for many people goes back their entire lifetime and beyond. And, it's lots of families, lots of storied companies that have been around for decades, if not centuries. And so it's really fun to kind of come into an industry with fresh eyes and for people to be so accepting and allow me to be a part of it.
So what brought you to Leggett Platt?
Originally, Leggett Platt was my client. I was on the advertising agency, communication agency side, and Leggett Platt was my client. So I handled that account for several years. And there was an opportunity to come work for Leggett Platt full time and continue the good work that we were doing. And I had an insider's view on what it was really like to be at Leggett Platt. And of course, Leggett Platt had an insider's view on what it was like to work with me. And so it had been a wonderful working relationship, and it was by far my favorite account to work on. So when the opportunity presented itself, I jumped at it. And it's been everything and more working for Leggett Platt because, it's a company that's been around since 1883. And so you think old ways and old school, but there's so much innovation happening within these walls. There's so many people working on different ideas about how to take metal and turn it into comfort components that you would think you would run out of ways to do that, but it's constantly evolving. And it's an exciting time to be a part of the mattress industry, especially with all the new players coming online, people demanding innovation in the way that we deliver products and the way that we continue to innovate around comfort itself. So it's been awesome, and that's kind of my 10-cent journey on how I arrived at Leggett.
All right, but you go from an ad agency where I'm seeing the cliched flip-flops, shorts, apparent Metallica t-shirts to an established, somewhat conservative organization. How do you blend all that where you still have that creative, we're going to push it type of thinking in a more, I need to rely on you type structure?
Well, I know you can't see my shoes, but I have flip-flops on, and my Metallica t-shirt is underneath right now.
Excellent.
So I've just, always kind of come at it with, I have to be myself. I have to rely on my best idea because that's what the company hired me to do. And so whenever I'm talking to my team and thinking about our marketing strategy in relation to our products, I always think, let's tease out our best ideas. And if you're passionate about that idea and it meets sound business objectives, you are not being a good steward of your money and the company's money if you don't passionately pursue that idea. So I really am, focused on continuing to be who I am, using the knowledge and skills that I, got from my agency background and from 7 years in media to continue to tell stories around our vetting components and around our company and around our people and around this industry in general, because we truly believe that the industry has to do well and we can all prosper.
I agree. Nice. So tell me about Sleep Geek.
Sleep Geek is an online community for RSAs and retail managers, particularly working in the mattress industry. So we originally launched Sleep Geek back in 2010 as a social network. It was closed, but now it's a full media property dedicated to helping people take themselves from a salesperson to a true sleep consultant. And it's all about sharpening the axe and making sure that you're up on the latest in sleep knowledge and you're making sure to keep current with your sales information. And the whole idea was, whenever you look at the purchase cycle for a mattress, there's still no other factor more influential than the RSA. And we wanted to help the RSA get better because we think that if the RSA can talk to consumers about sleep and make a direct connection from sleep to the products that we sell, then people are going to value sleep and they're not going to be resistant to come into the marketplace for a new mattress whenever they're not having the best comfort and the best night's sleep. They're going to get sheets and pillows and toppers and all the things they need to invest in for a quality night's sleep. So we make it about that conversation and not so much just about the products, because sleep is emotional. It impacts every moment of your life, whether waking or asleep. And so I think we can have that conversation if the RSAs are empowered to talk about sleep, to talk about the sleep environment, and connect all of that information to the products this industry sells. We're all going to prosper and do better. So Sleep Geek launched, as I said, as a closed social network, but now today we do 4 to 5 original pieces of content every week, all to serve the retail manager and the RSA. We have an original comic. We have a podcast that I host that is the most probably popular style of content on the site now. The host is marginal, but that's okay. And so we do all this.
A geek.
Yeah, the host is actually a geek. The host is definitely a geek, but he's got a co-host that's kind of keeps it on the cool side.
How do you measure the success of that venture so that way the company says, all right, yeah, this is definitely worth your time?
We measure the success of Sleep Geek based on our ability to learn from the community. That's one piece of the puzzle. We listen to the RSA and we survey that community, and it influences how we think about our product development and how we go to market with our products. We know that something has to work down at the retail level. Otherwise, what's the real purpose in pursuing it? So we couple our innovative thinking and the possibility around each of these products with thinking about how it's going to be received at retail and how we can best serve the RSA and make sure that they have the information they need to communicate it clearly to the consumer. So one piece of the puzzle in terms of measurement is thinking how much will the RSA give back to us based on what we're giving them initially. And the response rates we get from our surveys and from our engagement is very high. And it's influenced a lot of what we've done, including our Quantum Edge campaign that we recently launched, because we wanted to know what is the conversation about the edge of a mattress at retail. If anything, we didn't know. And so we talked to our community, and they told us the edge of the mattress comes up 93% of the time. And roll-off comes up 80% of the time, and a consistent sleep surface edge to edge 3 out of 4 times. So we looked at that as, number one, like I was answering the question, a good measure of success in terms of being able to get feedback. But also we had some great intelligence that helped us serve the retail community better. Another way we look at success, of course, is does the community grow year over year? And we're past 6,000 registered members, and we have more than 700 graduates from our online school that's totally free. And then in addition to that, I look at it from a very high level standpoint and think to myself, has Sleep Geek allowed us to become more part of our industry? And what I mean by that is, do people reach out to us now and ask us to come cover their products or their show or their showroom? And the answer is yes. I remember the very first time, Sleep Geek got a call from Tempur-Pedic asking us to come to their showroom and go behind the scenes and tell their story. And I took that as another metric of success for the property, because it showed we were truly serving people, and it wasn't about, one product being better than the other. We're talking about the industry as a whole, and we're helping people get a macro perspective on it so they know what's going on. And we love taking that information to our community and to the whole industry if they let us.
All right, Mark, what can other manufacturers, suppliers in the furniture industry learn about the experience, the journey you've been on with Sleep Geek, with entering the company and bringing this background in social and current marketing strategies?
I would say at the moment, what keeps coming to mind for me are these micro conversations and this micro content path that we've been on. And I think it impacts the entire industry because I think we're all media companies in some way. I think we need to empower employees to do more in the social space and more in the communication space because you have RSAs that are in a store with lots of downtime and they could be marketing your company with these micro conversations and this outreach mentality. In the social space, every interaction matters. And I think it's a lot of times people looking at social as if it's free. And that's something we need to do because there are eyeballs there. But it's not free because it takes time and it takes an investment up front in terms of strategy. But if you think things through too much, then you're going to find reasons not to do them. So I think it's all about jumping into the game. I actually got an email the other day. I got an email saying the Facebook Live videos that you are doing inspired us to jump in the game, not hesitate, not wait for the right moment, but do it. And that was from one of the biggest brands in the industry. So I know what we're doing because for a big company, we're very agile in our ability to experiment. And there's not a lot of downside in us doing that. So we jump into the games, whatever they are, whether it's Snapchat or Facebook Live videos or Twitter conversations, and we're trying to find what is new. And you experiment with those things. And if they pick up steam, you have a knowledge base that you can apply later on. But I think the biggest thing you can think about, if there was one takeaway, is you are a media company now. Whether you're a small retailer in Sheboygan or you are global, you have to think about yourself in terms of what is the content that we're going to put out. And that content is going to anchor all those spokes that you kick out into the world. Everything that you're going to put on your social channels, everything that you can potentially put out in terms of a robust marketing strategy, a lot of that can feed back into the content that you create. So I like getting people into that mentality. And it is innovative because there's a storytelling component to innovation that is very undervalued, I think, in our industry and in many others. And it goes back to one of the things I talked about at the Furniture Today Leadership Conference, which was if the product was the main consideration and the only thing that mattered, then why didn't all the other MP3 players before the iPod take off? Well, the story was wrong, I think. They used language that wasn't common. They talked about MP3s and you had to do math to figure out how many songs you could fit on this thing. And you had two cords doing two separate things. And then all of a sudden, Steve Jobs came along and he said 1,000 songs in your pocket. You didn't have to do the math anymore. They told the story well. So I encourage people to look at the products they have, get some fresh eyes on them if needed, and think, what is the real story here that would connect with a person? And when you think down those lines, all of a sudden, you have all these products you've been selling for years. Maybe it's a bunch of white rectangles, but there's some romance and there's some elegance to it. And it's something that serves the consumer because they want to know what is close to their body for 8 hours a night, hopefully. So I encourage the media mentality and thinking about your products in terms of stories and getting in there and going after it and not creating reasons why. Of course, there are going to be barriers. Of course, there are going to be hurdles and obstacles. But I think it's really important to get in and fail fast and figure it out.
Well, you're hitting on a few different things too, but I'm going to challenge you a little bit, but I think we're in agreement on that challenge, is that you have to define who your company really is, right? Apple was really good at redefining itself and saying how it has this personal relationship with its customers, where Dell came out with their own phone and their own MP3 players and no one wanted it. Because from Dell, I only wanted my computer. I want a cheap computer. Apple became something else. And I think anybody listening to this should be thinking about their business that way too. I'm not just one thing. What am I really? What's the heart and soul of what I am?
It's a perfect point to make because whenever you're looking at what story you're going to tell, it has to be something that's authentic. And if your company culture isn't one that is truly innovative and forward thinking, that you shouldn't try to be that. You should try to be who you are and tell that story accurately. We look at ourselves. Leggett Platt's been around since 1883. We invented the bed spring. It's a heritage company. We know who we are. And yes, we are doing innovative and new, interesting things, and we experiment along the way. But at our core, we know what our brand stands for in people's minds. And just like you mentioned with Apple and with Dell, a lot of people jump into a game they don't quite understand, and they think it's something they need to do because others are doing it. But what is the position that you own in the marketplace? And this is a really deep topic. And if you look at books like the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, it's a great kind of entry point into understanding the way to position your business. What are we first at? People talk about the first person to fly across the Atlantic. Well, who's the second? It was Bert Hinkler, but not a lot of people know that. But they know the third because the third was the first. And here's what I mean by that. It was Amelia Earhart. She was the first woman. So look at your category and think, what can we be first at? And when you look at your company, think, what are we? Who are we? What do we stand for? Because your people are going to pay off your brand at every touch point. And when they start paying off your brand, it's going to be who you are as a company and who you are as a collection of people. And you can't fake it and try to be somebody else. You can't be Dell trying to be Apple.
Right. I agree. Coming into a leadership position in this company, in Progressive Business Media, you have a group. We've been B2B media company. We've been all about putting buyers and sellers together, and that's how we've made money, and that's how we've been so incredibly important to our base. Now we're challenged. Here you're talking about your company and you wanting a direct relationship with your clients. Wait, do you need us? Who are we now? And what it's actually become is we want to think about content differently now. Now it's not the editor-in-chief that's been around for 20 years that knows what everybody needs to know, and they're thinking about something on the right end, and that becomes the main story. It's starting out with the community, engaging our community, who our targets are, really crafting something before it even comes in print, or even before it goes onto our main website. Instead, let's start having conversations on social, on all the other tools that we have available to us, so when we make content, it's anchored by 20 years of experience, but the people that are living it every day are informing it.
I'm gonna add to what you're doing with where I think things are going. Your approach to having these conversations in advance and not making it all about that big piece of content that you kick out after the research or the story or the journalism that takes place. It's really well received on my part because I've been doing an audit lately of like my Twitter feed, for example, and I'm very disengaged with a lot of the branded Twitter feeds. I'm very engaged with the people, the ones who actually have a face and a picture up. And I think about that and I just do a gut check every time I start doing an audit like this. What does that mean on a bigger scale? And am I alone? And I found that I'm not alone, number one. There are many people that are experts in this space to talk about the personal connections that you can create with your audience, but it has to be through your people. And the people that are only doing branded content, I think, are missing a huge opportunity, not only in terms of if a brand reaches out to a person, it can be compelling, it can work. But when a person from that company reaches out and has a name and has a bio with a real background and a potential connection point because you're both from Raleigh, North Carolina, that's powerful. That's important. And so I think these, like you're talking about, these conversations that are happening in advance are going to snowball and add up. And the ones willing to have them and willing to invest that time are the ones who are going to win because their customers are going to win and their relationships are going to win.
Right, absolutely. One of our mantras here is every contact we have with a subscriber, a user, an attendee has to measurably increase their ability to give value back, that we are empowering them in some manner, that their company is going to succeed better and they'll be better at their profession and their life. We have to have meaning. Otherwise, there's no reason why we should exist.
And we have to have meaning within our own environments too. I remember when I came into Leggett, there was a huge opportunity for me to have deeper relationships with our sales team, which is all over the country. And then, of course, we have people all over the world. And I saw that as an area that I could get involved with very quickly. And of course, I was well received because we have incredible people that care. And I don't want people to look at the big picture and forget about what needs to happen right at home, those personal relationships. And that is going to be the planting of the garden that ends up growing and helping everybody.
I believe what's the most wonderful thing about social media is I'm connected with my best friend's mom and my kids' friends. And who am I? Because you can't tell a joke now that only your kids' friends will get because your best friend's mom is watching. So who do you want to be? And you have to be authentic, and you have to be real. And you have to be not just playing to one audience. You have to be now who you are, or you're gonna get beat up.
Yeah, and if you try to be some sort of brand or some sort of idealized version of yourself, it's not going to work. I mean, I think people connect more with your vulnerabilities than they do with your successes. And if you're trying to be a brand in the online space that doesn't really ring true whenever your mom's best friend sees you in the Facebook feed, they're going to know. I mean, she knows who you are, and you're going to be trying to keep up something that's not sustainable, which is probably the most important part. I remember when I first got on Facebook, I was doing a 2-hour daily talk radio show, which I did for 4 years. And it was a public image for me because I got on Facebook because I thought there are eyeballs there. Those are potential people that could listen to my show, and I need to bring them into the fold. And I'll tell them what's going on at the station, and we'll have some fun with it. It just wasn't sustainable because that wasn't the range of human emotion that I experienced, and that was not the range of life that I experienced. I was more, interested in talking about my new puppy that I got than, what happened in the news that day. So it's one of those things where you have to look at where can I be my most authentic self. Lately for me, that's been Snapchat. I know a lot of people are hesitant because they look at Snapchat as something that was used to send, nude photos and they disappear, but it's evolved way beyond that. And it's an incredibly creative platform that allows you to get that micro content up very quickly. So look at your channels and think, where can I be my most authentic self, number one, and then build your audience from there because that's going to be sustainable. I always told people, I'm like, don't do Facebook if you can't do Facebook. Don't get on Twitter if you can't sustain and maintain that and there's not a certain level of passion there for it.
Right, and also escape from checking it off your list. I just tweeted today like I was asked to, versus I've entered into a dialogue with my audience that's provided meaning for everyone involved, right?
And what a great way to actually shift your thinking on it. Instead of checking it off your list, if I'm running a sleep shop, for example, and I want to get my RSAs more involved in understanding sleep and potentially serving an audience that's going to come buy mattresses from us, you could set up a Twitter search. And anybody talking about mattresses or sleep problems, your RSAs can start answering those questions. Even if they don't have the knowledge, they can look it up. They can find some best practices. They can go to Sleep Geek for answers and then serve that person that's there instead of thinking, what is that one thing I got to check off my list today? Make it something that is fun. Make it something that's service-minded.
Everyone talks about there's no more B2B, B2C, it's human to human. And that's really what we're talking about. We have to get to that level.
Since I started in advertising and marketing, I remember doing a lot of B2B work on the front end of my career. And there was this mentality that you are mailing something to a business and your messaging should fit the business-minded person. And I would always pause people and say, some person, an actual human being is making this decision. It's not a company. People make decisions. So even if you're in the B2B space, you have to think, who is that person? And they are not mechanical. They have emotions and they have feelings and they want to be entertained. And whenever you come at it with that mentality, you all of a sudden have just a slight shift in your thinking that makes you realize I just need to talk to a person that's sitting across from me. It's helpful.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some things just resonate with people. And then you'll see the direct marketing, that typical B2B where it has an exclamation point at the end. And you're like, oh my God, how desperate that little direct mail piece is. Listen to me, take action.
The exclamation point, yeah, at the end of Jeb.
Look, thank you so much for doing this.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for hopping in there and actually engaging this industry, because there are so many people that are brilliant and have incredible ideas. And I look to some of them for inspiration myself. I remember just looking at what Jim McIngvale does day in and day out. And he's such an innovative, inspirational guy. And he'll tell you, I go back to my roots and I promote. But when you go back to your roots and you promote, what does that actually mean? And in this day and age, there's a completely different way of thinking about how to promote. And the ability to get in front of people and really engage them is unprecedented. Now, that unprecedented ability can also bring on feelings of being overwhelmed, but there's no need. You got to start small, you got to hop in the game, and you got to be consistent. I really, really, truly believe that. And that's why Sleep Geek just has a editorial calendar we put together, and we churn out that content, and it's not always perfect, and sometimes it is. And those are the wins you're looking for.
All right. Thank you again, Mark.